Hey guys, and welcome back. So it is time to break down, it is time to talk about another synopsis for another episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6. This time around though, we'll be talking about Episode 6, otherwise titled Inescapable. So we all know that we got some shadow of a doctor on the trailers for this season. A lot of people did assume he was the doctor, he was Fitz. And I did assume it was otherwise. I did assume that it is possibly someone else, because I thought that would be repetition. However, though, it does make a lot of sense that we get to see the Doctor this season. This all-new Fitz, fresh out of the pod, and because I got comments on the fresh out of the pod part before, I don't mean it in the literal sense, I mean it in the figurative sense. And the figurative sense is, this Fitz did not go through all the experiences that the Fitz from Season 5 has gone through, including getting through the Doctor phase and getting over it. But this all-new Fitz did not go through that experience, so it is expected that he does go through it. I mean, it does make perfect sense. He's out of the framework, he's the same person, having issues, having struggles, but that Fitz that he's been inside the framework, and he now needs to deal with them. And he's probably going to deal with them over the course of one episode. However, though, the scenario over here is going to be completely different. Instead of attacking Daisy, and instead of trying to get her powers back in order to use those powers to close the fear dimension, like what he did on last season, he's going to be trying to use his powers in order to save everyone. And that's exactly what I'm expecting over here. But let us go through the synopsis for the episode before we start speculating, and then we can talk details. Now, the header of the synopsis reads, "The end of the beginning with FITZSIMMONS on an all-new episode of ABC's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., airing Friday, June 21st. So the first thing I do like about this thing is the spin that they put on the title of the 16th episode of the first season, the end of the beginning. And I think they do these kind of things on purpose, like bringing about some nostalgic moments to the minds of the viewers, because that was the end of the beginning, and what followed was very tough for everyone, very tough for Fitz and Simmons. It was the betrayal of Ward. Part of it was also the decision by Victoria Hand to get rid of everyone on board of the bus, except for Phil Coulson. I would need to go back and watch the entire episode again in order to think about this, but I'm pretty sure that the use of these words is probably about foreshadowing what's gonna go down on this episode and what's gonna follow those moments, like on the following episodes. But moving on though to the body of the synopsis, Inescapable, they fought through space-time and alternate realities to find each other, and now closer than ever, only their own demons can stop FITZSIMMONS' reunion on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. airing Friday, June 21st. Okay, so the thing about this body to the synopsis is there's space, there is time, there are alternate realities, and not just one alternate reality, but rather alternate realities, plural. Now the part about time is all about the time travel on Season 5, to 2091, the teen time traveling and Fitz doing it the long way, getting there to 2091, saving everyone's asses and bringing them back to 2018. The space part is all about this season, the events so far of this season. It's also about Season 3, Mavis and whatnot, Jemma being swallowed by the Black Monolith, the Space Monolith. But the alternate realities part, it kind of refers to a lot of things. The fact that the reality that we're done with, the one that ended with the ending of Season 5, with the changing of the timeline, makes that reality, the reality where the Earth gets destroyed, that version of 2091, at this moment part of an alternate reality. The other alternate reality though that they did fight through in order to find one another, well at least Jemma fought through in order to bring back Fitz, that was the framework. So yeah, we've got a little bit of a subtle hint towards the framework within the synopsis. But alright though, now that I've referred to the trailer of the season, the moment that we saw someone in a suit, seemingly in space as well, with Daisy on the other end of that room, I'm thinking over here that yeah, we are getting the Doctor on this episode. Once again, the keyword, the operative word over here is I think, so I'm not really saying it's gonna happen. Please don't assume that I'm saying I know it all, I'm just assuming it is a great possibility. But okay though, here's how I think it's gonna go down. So looking back at both the trailer and the synopsis for episode 5, we do know that everyone's pretty much gonna be in a lot of shit. We do know that it's not a space-centric episode, it's not an Earth-centric episode. We do know it's gonna be pretty hectic, it's gonna be dealing with the abduction of May, the abduction of Fitz, the abduction of Daisy, Jemma, and Enoch by none other than the new character Altara, and it is most probably gonna be dealing with the arrest of Jacko and Pax by S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, a lot of stuff gonna be going on. Most of the episode, I suppose if not the entire episode, is going to be dealing with the abduction or the, hostage situations involving all of these people. So I don't think it's going to advance a lot beyond that point. Like basically it's going to be all about the fight for freedom. Now, as I mentioned on another video as well, we know that Anthony Michael Hall is going to be making an appearance on a future episode, and he's going to be portraying Mr. Coulson, pretty much the owner of that entire planet, if that's the word for it. So here's what I'm thinking, what I've mentioned before. I do believe that whatever happens on episode 5 is going to be leading to this team having to face off with Mr. Coulson on episode 6. That's going to lead into a pretty dangerous situation with Jemma, Daisy, and Enoch, and that's also going to lead Daisy to try and save them. Makes a lot of sense. Think about it this way as well. The Doctor almost got triggered multiple times in 2091, and that's always because Jemma was in danger. The Doctor got triggered in 2018 when everyone was in danger, including Jemma, and that's basically because of the fear dimension, so he basically tried to activate Daisy's powers in order to bring about a temporary shutdown of the fear dimension.
You're on the right track. You're not quite there yet.
The one thing that we know in common for every time Fitz has activated the Doctor or the Doctor has activated within Fitz, inadvertently of course, is pretty much that Jemma has always been part of the scene. She's always been in danger in those scenes. That does as well explain why on episode 2 of the season, Fitz talks about knowing how, evil people think, how bad people think, but he doesn't really activate the Doctor. He uses the knowledge in order to save his own ass, but doesn't really activate him. He's the only one in danger. He's trying to get all these people that are not really people he cares about all that much. Like, they're not Jemma, they're not a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm gonna stress that once again, and especially Jemma. They are not Jemma. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. He only goes for that when he finds there's no way out other than activating that personality. And that's gonna have to go down anyway because, he needs to deal with the issues created by the Doctor in his life, his life in the framework, and he needs to deal with them fast, just like his previous version, the one that died at the end of Season 5, dealt with them a little bit over halfway through Season 5. And one thing that I did notice reading the synopsis for this episode is the similarity that it bears to the Devil Complex, the synopsis of the Devil Complex, the 14th episode of the 5th season of the series, and the one that heavily featured the Doctor. So just to run you through it, the header was Fitz and Simmons are faced with one of their greatest fears on ABC's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The body then read, The Devil Complex, as Fitz and Simmons race to find a way to seal the rift. They're faced with one of their greatest fears manifested on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I believe there are a lot of similarities here. The word demons is used on the new synopsis, the synopsis for Inescapable, in order to replace the word fears, but most probably means the same thing. Pretty sure, and even though we're getting a lot of demonic vibes this season, I'm getting a lot of demonic vibes this season, that the use of the word demons over here is not really literal, but rather figurative. But moving on though to the next thing on the synopsis, the guest starring list, and I love the guest starring lists because they do tell us a lot usually. We've got Joel Stoffer who portrays Enoch, we've got Sherry Som who portrays Altara, and we've got Christopher James Baker who portrays Malachi, and that's it for this episode. So you could think 1, Piper and Daviiz are not going to be part of this episode, 2, this is a pretty space-centric episode, 3, there is the possibility that this episode revolves around Fitz and Simmons and no one else, as in no Daisy either, and finally 4, circling back to the header of the synopsis and mixing that up with the, guest starring list, I'm thinking over here, this is going to be either the last episode that's set in space or the one that leads up to all of them making it back to Earth. On another note though, I do believe that Anthony Michael Hall is going to make his guest starring gig on this episode. Big names like this one that we know are going to make it to any episode don't usually get listed in the guest starring list on any given synopsis. That way I suppose it's kind of like a surprise when we see them on screen. But I suppose over here that's all I could squeeze out of the synopsis. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the synopsis. If you've got any ideas about what's gonna go down on this episode, let me know as well if you think we're gonna be seeing the Doctor, and that's possibly gonna be the final time that we see him in the events of this series. Let me know as well if you did like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like, subscribing to this channel, and make sure while you're at it to enable notifications in order to get updates whenever I upload a new video, publish a new community post, or start a new live stream. But until the next time that you tune in for another one of my videos, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or otherwise, thank you all so much for tuning in to this synopsis breakdown, and have a great day.